So I'll call this meeting to order, and we're going to add to the warrants an additional one, 3A is what we're going to add. And with that, we'll go on to the minutes. We have the minutes from July 26th and then August 2nd. Do I have any?
I'll make a motion that, I think we have to do them separately because Lewis was not here for one of them, so.
Oh, that's right, I forgot.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of July 26th.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Then we have the minutes of August 2nd. That was the special meeting.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of August 2nd.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. We have warrants 3 and the payroll 3P.
I'll make a motion that we approve warrants 3 and 3P.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? Warrant 3 is for $177,747.15, and about $155,000 went to paving East West Road, and part of that will be paid with a state grant. We have the monthly sheriff's bills, rescue bills, payroll transfers, some of the ARPA money that's going to the community center is going as part of this warrant. And there was fuel for the highway department and some storm repair supplies that would be covered by FEMA. So, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And then we have warrant 3A, and that was a little bumper, or what do they call it?
Fender bender.
Fender bender, right, at the highway garage.
Oh, that's the added one. Okay. Yeah, I did see that.
I'll make a motion that we approve warrant 3A.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Mhm.
All right.
You know, so as we go through these each meeting, you know, I'm just struck by how much work goes into paying bills and tracking it, and we do such a good job in Dummerston. We need to be thinking about who's going to replace Shar when she steps down. So I think, you know, we can't wait till she leaves to be thinking about that. So put out the word. Need to.
When's she leaving?
Well, she's not gonna run.
Oh, okay.
It's an
March.
elected position.
So yeah, somebody's gotta take out a
through
petition.
March.
So,
It takes a certain type of person, you know, who's detail oriented and
yes, it does.
dots I's, crosses T's.
So,
And you read about other towns that have had problems, and I'm always just so thankful we're in Dummerston and it all works so smoothly.
so anyone interested just needs to take out a petition to run, but they can get information about it by getting in touch with our town treasurer or the town office.
Yep.
And we'll have to come up with some contingency plans if maybe later in the year. So under ARPA funding, we have the highway garage roof repair, but I think that's still, I don't think we have
Still.
any new information.
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. So-
Lee was gonna get, was gonna confirm the dollar amounts.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah. So we'll table that. And you're here for the covered bridge steps. So we'll move on to the road foreman's report. We have requested bridge inspections, but as far as I know, we haven't gotten any information back. So when we do, we'll let everyone know. Someone let us know of after the last storm, some damage on Sunset Lake Road, and I believe Lee was aware of that, so I think we're okay with that.
Yeah, it's some potholes and.
And the Agency of Transportation, the town roads closure status maps and dashboard. Anything you want to I think that's just in
Right.
the event of a emergency, that's something, a
Right.
resource for us. Other than that, I see the town crew has been mowing.
Mowing, culverts, cleaning all the
Yeah.
culverts, almost done cleaning all the culverts. But yeah, that's it really. Getting around, getting the culverts all cleaned out,
Okay.
just in case we have any rain, which we sort of need at this
Yeah,
time.
it's so dry. You'll remind them that the culvert by my barn has my,
Yes,
Septic
right,
tank.
yes, we do have that written down. There's a couple other ones too, so
Yeah.
yes.
okay, great. Any other road foreman, road issues? Okay, is there anything under correspondence for information you'd like to discuss?
Yes, the sheriff's department, the STARS report.
Yeah,
We got charged 2 hours for Windham County Humane Society detail.
I couldn't figure
Yeah, I was
out
wondering
what
about
that
that.
was.
That shouldn't be on our charge.
I wonder if that was that Ashley Pinger?
Yes.
Okay, she's the animal control person.
Right.
We,
But I don't know if the detail was down at there. I mean, that's,
Brattleboro.
and well, even if it was here, that's, the details like that I thought were handled by the, like if they do work at the Walker Farm,
Mhm.
the Walker Farm pays for
Yeah.
that. The town doesn't get charged for that.
Yeah, if you want, do you want to get in touch or I can get in touch with you?
Either way, I don't mind,
Okay.
because I had another question on that. There was an accident on Route 5 in Middle Road, and the officer that was there charged us for 1 hour. But then another officer that helped out was three hours.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if it was only an hour for the officer that was in charge of it, why did we get charged 4 hours total? I mean, the other one was just helping out. So I'd like to know how the hours are being kept track of.
Yeah,
So I don't mind calling and,
okay, that'd be great, and you can let us know at our next meeting. Right, we only contract for
4 hours
something.
a month.
We ran into trouble last fiscal year with them using up more hours in the beginning of the fiscal year, so we ran out in April, so.
So yeah, so we had, this one was July was 24.5
Okay.
hours that they billed us for, and I think it was 5.5 hours that were grants.
Okay, so. it's-
But, I mean, if this 2 hours and the other 3 hours, I'd like to see how they're accounting for that, because that can, at the end of the year, we might get a kickback.
So if the sheriff's office shows up, or sheriff's officers show up for an accident, we get billed for that?
Or they take it out of, our
The-
contracted time.
And they're presumably directing traffic or?
Well, that's what I don't
providing
understand.
Safety on the site, because our volunteer fire department also does that.
Right, but,
We don't pay for that directly.
yeah. Most of their stuff is supposed to be patrolling. They're not supposed to come for any, and if they do, they will take it out of our hours. If somebody breaks into your house or your car, you're supposed to, the residents are supposed to call the state police, not the sheriff's department. The sheriff's department is not for those kind of, because those will go against our hours. The state police doesn't go against our hours, so.
Right, and the state police are more for criminal
Right.
issues and the sheriff is for traffic control.
And I did notice on some of those, GHS, is that who's paving over there? who's doing the paving on, because our tickets, the fines, which we get as the town gets a good portion of the fines. Those were, I think it was like 15, might have been 1,600 of the $1,700 came from GHS patrolling. They gave out, I think, 5 tickets total that came out to $1,600 something dollars. So,
Is that the initials of one of the
well, that's what I don't know. I'm wondering if,
deputies?
no, the deputy's full name is on the report. And I think his name was Chris.
So you think the pavers might have their own?
Well, no, I think that, well, yeah, I'm not sure how that's working, you know.
So that North New England paving,
Northeast paving?
Northeast paving, yeah.
Yeah, but if you look at that,
And
it's
Waters.
it's in the correspondence for information packet there, it shows you, and it gives the officer's name and the amount the fine is for, and, you know, how many fines it was, and I think it was 5 total fines that added up to $1,600. So, but it said GHS, and Lori and I were trying to figure out what GHS, so I can ask him that
Sure.
too.
Good.
Okay, great. Anything else under correspondence for information?
Do we have the EWPP that folks got back to us today, this morning? The EWPP, the emergency watershed folks got back to us today.
Oh, okay,
So he sent an email. He said, is that on there?
no,
Yeah.
later on in the agenda,
That's later.
I believe.
We'll have to talk about
It's the next item.
Okay.
it when it comes up on Thursday.
Okay, so under correspondence for discussion and or action, well, here we go.
Whoa, that's quite a segue. So their engineer said that he could be here next week, either 14th, 15th, or 16th. So I'm certainly available to escort him. I don't know if you want to. He just said one member of the town sponsor has to be with him.
Yeah, if you'd like to, go for it.
Yeah, I'll use all my skill sets. So what I'll do is I'll pick a day. He said a lot of times it's 5 to 10 minutes per house or per event. And so what I'll do is I've got all the names, addresses, emails, phone numbers. So once I have a day, well, actually, maybe what I'll do is coordinate with them first and see if one day is better for everybody. And then I'll get back with him and set that up. So we'll follow up and see what they come back with.
Great, good, thanks for doing it.
Do the property owners have to be there?
They do not.
Okay.
He says a lot of them like to be. He goes, but it's not required.
Okay. Let's see. Agency of Natural Resources, the geomorphic assessment, I haven't heard anything more on that yet.
That's the watershed wide assessment
Yes.
that they're talking about.
Salmon.
Yeah, she'd offer to come down.
Okay, under employees, I have to confess that I dropped the ball. I was supposed to get in touch with Roger, and you know, it's one of those things where I thought, well, he's probably not in yet, I'll call later, and so I will endeavor to do that this coming week, to set up a time. And Lee is still away, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so. Let's see, email from Agency of Natural Resources regarding the MSGP filing for the Dummerston Putney gravel pit.
What's MSGP?
Gravel pit at the end.
Mining, safety, and,
Gravel.
yeah,
That's it.
but,
They wanted to know if we wanted any more contact people on there. We have, right now it's Lori and
oh, right.
the
that's what it
treasurer
is.
and the
Yeah.
town clerk.
So it comes here.
Right, so
Yeah.
that's,
I
yeah,
think
so I
that's-
don't think we have to do anything about
Right,
that
I don't
because
think so.
they said if that was all we needed, that's all we.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, that's great. I can just circle back with Lori on that.
Yeah, I talked to her today about it, so
Okay.
she was okay with it being.
Okay. Okay, under new business, Any ARPA updates or discussions? Then we come to the covered bridge steps. Want to come up? Sure. Okay, so let's see, when we talked with you last, we had voted to sign a zoning permit for the steps. And you also sent a memorandum of understanding that the Conservation Commission would take care of the maintenance, inspection, taking care of the steps. So, is there any?
I guess one of my questions for it is, how long are you gonna do that for? Boards change, you know, if something happens to those stairs, where's the funding gonna come from to repair them? Are you gonna have a fund set up for that? It's questions like that is the ones I'm having for you.
Sure, yeah. No, those are good questions. It's sort of, so it's not just the stairs, right? I don't know if you guys have had a chance to review the entire site plan, but the issue at that site and the reason why the old stairs had disintegrated as badly as they were was that there's a lot of rainwater that's being shed off the parking lot and seeking a path down that corner to the water, which of course washes a bunch of sediment into the river, which is how we got funding for the design in the first place, is that it's actually affecting the river, as well as human beings and their recreational access down to the river. So the plan involves, this does go to maintenance, believe me, shedding the rainwater at various points that aren't that point, right? And so there's the rain garden off on one side, which is a low depressed area, so that can collect water there. I think they're going to create another depression on another corner. And I think some channels as well, to collect and let the rainwater soak into the ground so that it isn't just dashing down into the river. What that means for maintenance purposes is that you're not so much talking about the stairs themselves are expected by the engineering folks to be quite durable. At the most, after a severe storm event, they might need some replacement of the backfill gravel that, so it's 4x4 timber held down with rebar basically into the bank. There might need to be a bit more additional stone added at some point. The maintenance as such really is inspecting and making sure that those waterways haven't filled with sediment. They're not expecting that to happen much because it's a hard paved surface, right? So it's not going to be washing sand and grit and stuff in, but every once in a while someone needs to go around. I confirmed with them yesterday that this is something that can be done with a shovel and a person. This is not necessarily, we don't have massive dredging equipment or something. So I actually think that the memorandum of understanding could stand to be a little bit refined in that respect, and that's an additional chore that we're taking upon ourselves. That it's not just like, we're not just looking at steps as steps, right? That we're looking at how that whole system is functioning. Because right now it's not functioning very well at all.
No, now,
Yeah.
I was going to go there later, but since you brought it up, that was the understanding with the Conservation Commission when the rain garden was put in, was they were gonna do all the upkeep, nothing, the town was, and it went into disarray. And, there was a lot of, they started having to have ivy taken out and, wanting the town to contract with it, so
I'm surprised to hear you say that because the rain garden is looking terrific at the moment.
Yeah.
We haven't done anything particular to it. It's really in superb shape. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, as far as we're concerned, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It has an appropriate and attractive array of species. Totally open to suggestion. I mean, if you think that there's additional species that you'd like to see in there.
Well, no, I know there was poison ivy they were concerned about within there and getting that out. And,
The annual tasks are poison ivy and young oak saplings. So that's what, for sure, that's,
and I mean, and I guess that's where I want to go with it, to make sure that the Conservation Commission is going to be willing now and in the future to do that on, to have volunteers to do that.
sure, yeah, I mean, that's what we have been doing. We have every intention of continuing to do it. We do have a bit of a request in that regard. I heard you guys talking about mowing earlier, and we ask this every year. I don't think it happens automatically, so I'd like to go ahead and ask. We need a channel path mowed around the rain garden so we can access it, as we do periodically. We've requested that, and you guys have always been really great about sending Lee out to give us that to mow it. I mean, if you're after, I'm not sure what do you want to see in the?
I just want to make sure everything, I guess what I want to make sure is that the Conservation Commission is willing to do the work on it. You see what I'm saying? Or find somebody to do the work where.
I think, please go ahead, John, yeah.
This comes up every year in our meetings, and for years we were paired up with the Master Gardener program. The Master Gardeners needed to prove what they knew by actually doing some gardening. So every year we'd get a Master Gardener. It cost us $125 or something. And that actually ended because of the poison ivy. Now, you go walk around outside this summer and poison ivy is everywhere. It's just crazy, and it's going to be there.
I guess that's what I'm saying, is I want to make sure that you guys have a plan, that it's not going to be the cause for the rain garden not to continue doing what you're saying it's doing, and not being taken care of.
No, I think we plan to continue. It's in, I mean, like just right now at the moment, the summer sweet is all blooming. It's in good shape. As far as working, did you? I mean, you sound like you think it's not in good shape.
No, I'm saying a lot of the times when you hear me speak, I'll be speaking for what people have told me, in what I hear from people. Okay, so it's not always firsthand. It's people come to me and say, "Can you bring this up?" Okay, so that's so.
There might be an issue of expectation of a rain garden. My understanding with rain gardens is that they aren't a formal garden, planted with garden flowers.
They're supposed to be.
They're naturalized, and the ideally native plants. Unfortunately, they're going to be plants like poison ivy, which is native. Exactly.
But it's a pain to deal with. We've committed to dealing with it. We've been dealing with it.
Right.
We will continue to deal with it. It'll look a little prettier and a little more manicured if I think the grass is, that's a really easy way people do it in their fields all the time.
We had the same discussion out here where some people complained about the buffer along the creek, that it didn't look manicured enough, and that's not the intention, that it looked manicured.
Well, they thought it looked unsightly.
Well, that's a subjective.
A rain garden is a rain garden is supposed to. It has a job to do, and it's It's not. You're not supposed to be planting your pretty flowers in it and stuff like that. That's not what a rain.
I think the question that you should ask as well is, by the way, that plan extends the amount of plantings that you guys are going to be maintaining. Are you, because it's not just now going to the little rain garden.
You said there's 3 other infiltration.
Right. There's going to be another. Right. There's going to be some. Sort of bank control planting alongside the steps themselves. Like right now it's sort of bare there. And so there will be some planting there that we will need to maintain. That will need to be basically weeded, right? We call it controlling. The environmental engineers call it controlling invasives. but it's basically weeding until things reach a mature size. So the job will get easier, but at least initially it's going to be, it's going to require some regular visits, and we'll try to get the master gardeners involved again. On that side, there isn't the poison ivy issue.
Yeah.
And you asked me a very specific question of how long. I actually have a very specific answer. If it's 10 years, I mean, right? Because so that's the formal length of time. Don't ask me a lot of questions about the grant process. That's for Corey. I'm happy to pass along any questions that you may have. But we are finalizing, or about to finalize, the design stage. We have, I think, a meeting at the end of August or the beginning of September that the select board is being invited to as well, to discuss the final part of the design grant. Once that's complete, Corey Ross from the Windham Regional Natural Resources Conservation District has a high level of confidence that we can get the implementation funding and maybe even proceed with it this autumn, which would be amazing if that could happen. That process involves a commitment on the part of the town to do exactly what we've just been discussing. The town can delegate it out, but whatever, but the letter would be coming from the select board saying, yes, for a 10-year period, we will visually inspect some of the things that Maria has brought up, visually inspect and, make sure that things are as they should be, that the handrail hasn't cracked, that, that the channels aren't full of sediment, and that sort of thing. So, so that's kind of the actual exact time span that we're talking about.
So that's all of the stuff that was in our letter of understanding, but we need a formal letter.
There will be another letter.
Okay.
There will be another letter, as you'd expect, because I don't think that the next grant is even coming from the same place as the first grant people. It's the available funding for implementation is not necessarily the same people or the same process. Corey had identified, I think, 3 or 4 different potential sources.
So you mentioned the gravel behind where is that gonna come from? Every time it gets washed out?
It's not expected. In fact, Jordan Duffy, I took some notes from a conversation that I had with him. The need for annual removal of sediment in the basin should be minimal, shovel removal opposed to equipment. In terms of the steps themselves, there are no intended maintenance items in their plan. There will need to be visual inspections of the steps and handrails to verify that there is no erosion of the gravel within the steps and that the handrails are stable. So the initial installation of the gravel is part of the...
I understand that, but I'm asking, when something happens, who's gonna fill the gravel in? Who's gonna come down to do the gravel? If it rains and,
That's an unknown. We don't know if it's going to happen. We don't, if it does, we'll have to address it
quite durable.
and come up with a plan, at that point.
well, I guess I'm looking at, we had Irene in 2011, 2 years ago, we had all that rain. We had it just this year. It's getting closer and closer. And my thing is instead of saying, let's wait until it happens, why not be?
Luckily, we just had that big storm, right? So we've had our example quite recently of a major storm with the river getting. You visited the site after the storm.
I observed the river both during Hurricane Irene and our couple of later episodes of high water. And if you go down and stand on the bank there, what you'll see is that detritus coming down the river gets in there and just bobs around. There's no particular current there. It's just backwater. I'm not foreseeing the river doing any damage at all to the steps other than getting them wet.
The erosion is a far worse threat to them, I think, than the river itself has been in the past. I appreciate your point though. You're saying, what if something outside the
Well, that's what
ordinary
that's,
happens?
I guess I see what you're saying, but I look down the road that something could happen, so why aren't we, instead of saying, well, we'll figure it out when it comes, why aren't we looking down the road that something might happen? And
Does the town have a plan if the covered bridge washes away? Anything could happen. This is engineered and planned to the highest possible standards. There's unknowns in life. We could have a once in a million year flood. Every culvert in town could go out, but based on what's known now, the engineering, best possible people doing the planning, people that were there, that their sole focus was protecting the river. It just couldn't be planned any better.
I guess you're missing my point,
No.
because my point isn't about the steps. I'm not arguing you with putting the steps there. You said it's all engineered, I understand that. But what you had said earlier was something about, they said that there may be erosion with the gravel and that may have to be put back in there.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the steps. I'm talking about a part of the steps. I'm not saying don't put the steps in there. I guess that's what it sounds like you're making me say what I'm saying, which I'm not. I'm asking, do we have a plan of what we will do?
Yes, the Conservation Commission has committed and will commit again to maintaining the steps. So if that means that gravel gets washed out and it's really bad, like more than me and John and Jesse and a couple shovels can handle, we have an annual budget of $1,000. We have in the past donated when Beek was just starting up its educational program down at the school. We gave them half of that each year. And in recent years have stopped that funding. So there is, if it's honestly a matter of $300 for gravel, we could try to raise it. That there's an enormous amount of foot traffic there in the summer, as you're well aware, which is part of why all this is happening, is my own personal concern for people's safety. That's what's driving me. That's why I'm here. But we could raise money. Mary Ellen was good at that. I'm learning better how to get people to give me money for projects. So there's that possibility. There's our budget is a possibility, and I am not going to tell you that there's no way, and God's green earth, that in 10 years that we wouldn't come back to the select board and say we need some money for X and such specific thing, and whoever is on the select board at that time would weigh and consider whatever we're asking them and decide whether, yes, that's a worthy use of money, or it's not a worthy use of money. We can certainly, but in terms of, it's hard, I'm having a hard time understanding are you asking about routine maintenance? We've covered routine maintenance, right?
Right.
So and then there's more extreme scenarios that are a little harder to.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to figure that part out. If, just like you said, if the whole bridge goes, we would get the funding from the state and FEMA for that. That's where that would be coming from. So that's your answer to that question. And so to put you at ease on that, I'm pretty sure that's where it would come from. But I'm talking more routine maintenance of the stairs.
So we're talking gravel,
Right.
new board here and there.
Right.
Well, I think that we would do that. It's conceivable that, 2 years ago, was it, we asked Lee for a load of gravel and he gave it to us. But if he didn't want to do that, we could try to buy it on Perkins and lug it up in bags or something. But he might be able to just dump a certain amount for that.
I'm not saying he wouldn't. I'm not saying the town wouldn't approve him to do that.
That's a possibility, but that's not a. That's an unlikely. We're considering it, and based on our conversations with the engineer stuff, that is a possibility. I'm not gonna tell you that is out of the question. It's unlikely, and it's certainly unlikely for some years. The whole sort of mission of these steps is to make something durable, right? What we have now is, you know, has horrible problems. Does that answer your question? Ask it again a different way. Does anyone want to add to that or have a different take on that?
When I hear, he's asking about maintenance in the future, and it seems like you're saying you'll take care of it in the future.
That's right. The conservation, and I think towns have done this sometimes with, even though the letter has to come from the town, the officials of the town. I think the fact that you can delegate or make a side deal or make an arrangement with someone else where they're actually on the hook, responsible for it, is the arrangement that we've talked about going into this, and we're completely affirming that that is the arrangement. That the Conservation Commission will manage it the way we manage Dutton Park and Prospect and this piece of land too, actively. You know, we actively manage these places. It's part of what we do. It's part of what we have been doing. And that the shape of that can change. It can be invasives. It can be making a trail. It can be making something, you know, a little bridge over some water. It takes many forms, but it is what we've been doing in these different places. Did you have anything to add to that, John?
No, not really. I think this is an important project, and I understand the problems that come along with it. If it was on private land, it would be much simpler. It isn't. It is what it is, and swimming and heavy foot traffic has been ongoing, well, I can document 7 decades. Predates the Conservation Commission by 30 years. And people will still be using it, and there will still be safety and erosion problems if nothing is done. So, I think going forward in the best possible way is what we need to do.
And even if in 15 years, say, these steps start to disintegrate, then worst case scenario, we're exactly where we are right now today, right here, sitting here, right? Only we would have had 15 years of safe steps and no erosion into the beach. You know what I mean? So even if they end up, it's important, I always think, to bear in mind the starting point. We're starting at what we have right now. And I think that these steps, we've seen these types of steps used in a number of local places. There's something that the contractors that people are incredibly familiar with. I mean, they're just kind of everywhere. We should get more than 10 years of use out of them.
There's some of these steps at the retreat farm, aren't there?
There's some at the retreat farm, you see them there at the farmer's market, they're just a kind of, you see them on a lot of places. I mean, I don't know, well, no, never mind, that's neither here nor there. I was gonna say I saw a cool idea on some of them, I don't remember where, they had chicken wire around the 4x4 so that you can't slip on it, and I thought that was a really clever idea, but I don't think it's actually part of our plan.
No, I don't think so. I
I
do know that I have seen pressure-treated retaining walls in earth contact that are well over 30 years old now and are still functional. If you were to dig them out, they wouldn't be pretty on the back, but as far as rot, I really expect 30 years out of it.
Especially if that water pressure is taken off it and diverted elsewhere, which is the plan.
And I'm not expecting damage from the river. if the engineering plan diverts the runoff from the parking lot so it's not going down the erosion gully,
Mhm.
I think they pretty well covered the bases.
And the river flooding too has been, you guys were talking about the file cabinet and the riprap earlier. They're taking the existing steps, extracting them from the bank and building kind of a little pile or like a little, what would we call that, like a landing with them at the bottom. And so that's gonna be just one more level of protection against the possibility of waters from the river
Yeah.
coming into contact with the stairs. Because it's actually gonna be stone down there.
There's a big finger of ledge just upstream that sticks out there, and that really mitigates the.
Makes a huge.
If you notice, there's an oak tree that's fallen on the beach, and the water did not take that oak tree downstream. But people have been cutting it up for firewood. But,
Well, I think that's why there's, am I right, John, in saying that's why there's a beach there,
mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Otherwise, it would have been swept
water
away.
deposits, sand there.
But it's scoured.
It would have been scoured, right? But the fact that it hasn't been scoured even in
Mm.
the last month when
Yeah.
we had 14 inches of rain at our house. Yeah, please, any more questions or follow-up
Any
questions?
more questions?
Where are you in the permitting process? Say, I know you went to the DRB,
Yeah.
and do you have to go before A&R?
I'm gonna write down your questions and get back to you on that. So I know that Evan and Jordan sent me trotting over to the site to put a post up. So after we heard back from the DRB,
That's local.
that's local. Well, no, but it had to go through A&R before so Roger got it, he sent it to the state. They had their process, that took some time. It came back, and then and only then could it go to DRB. So then they issued the permit, and that's what is posted now. So I think we're done with the state in terms of permitting.
I was surprised that we as a board did not get notification of the DRB hearing on the steps.
Of the DRB hearing.
The local, the Development Review Board. We never received notification that that hearing was gonna take place, that I'm aware of.
I know, I was out of the country when it happened, so I wasn't able to attend, and I really wanted to. I was actually quite disappointed, because I'm sure that a lot of things were discussed.
Oversight on their part.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Better get after them.
Yeah, sure. Who would be responsible for that?
Probably the zoning administrator.
Mhm.
I don't want to get Roger in trouble,
Yeah.
You just did.
There's reviews coming up apparently too,
but.
so.
Sorry, Roger.
So,
There were a lot of emails going around.
Yeah.
When was that hearing?
I gave you a look at my phone.
Sometime between the 28th of June and the
And
6th
it
of
was
July.
while we were
Until
out of-
recently.
Yeah, it was fairly recent.
I was thinking it was a hearing a year ago.
No.
Yeah,
Mm.
and I know that Evan Fitzgerald attended it. I thought there was a representative from the select board, but clearly I thought wrong. All right.
so, well, square with you?
As far as you know.
Do you have any questions about, and again, I'm not gonna know the answer, but I can find out for you about the upcoming process? What's gonna happen next, that sort of thing? I know that we have, like I said, we have a meeting either later this month or early into next month, and shall I just report back to you
Yeah,
after
maybe
that
just
occurs?
let us
And
know.
maybe one of you can even participate.
If you give us a heads up, yeah,
Okay.
maybe one of us can.
We'll do that.
That's great.
Thank you all.
Thank you
Thanks
coming
for
in.
coming.
Really appreciate all the work you do for the town. And
I appreciate the work you do for the town.
I'm getting too old. It's past my bedtime. I'm gonna slide on.
See you, John, thanks for coming. All right.
All right, thanks Okay, any more on that? Okay, let's see, we have someone who's interested in joining the Energy Committee. Thomas Nolan.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Thomas Nolan to the Energy Committee until town meeting March 2024.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Great, I'll let him know. Okay, we have someone who's interested in joining Todd Davidson on the Windham Regional Commission as a representative from Dummerston, and that's Matthew Hoffman.
And I move that we appoint Matthew to the Windham Regional Commission until next town meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, I will let him know. Okay. The Energy Committee applied for and received a $4,000, they call it a mini grant, for community capacity building. And we are supposed to sign off on it.
Want to hand that red folder down this way too?
Yes. I'll give you a also.
Clearly suspicious look you gave me.
No, it looks fine to me. So we need a motion to approve this.
No, I move we approve the grant, mini grant.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Do you want to just fill us in on possible uses of this money? Or what the committee's intentions for getting this?
Yeah, it would cover, as I understand it, a pretty broad brush opportunities. You know, it came up in the discussion with Thomas Nolan, the idea of resilience in the town. You know, that's something that this program is specifically focused on. So, you know, we might come up with a plan to, you know, acquire a battery backup power system and, you know, emergency cell phone charging capability at the community center or the school or something like that. So that could be an example of the kind of issue we would look into. And what I don't know is whether those funds can be used for actual purchases. I think they can. You know, it would add to available funds that the Energy Committee has access to. You know, with the Selectboard, of course, would have to sign off on any expenditure from that Energy Committee fund. But I think it, you know, it could support energy audits that are done in the town. It could support surveys that are done of energy use. We've been talking for a while about putting together an online resource on electric vehicles and electric tools, sort of a local input on what it's like to use these vehicles or tools that, you know, so somebody who's considering getting an electric trimmer could go to this website and learn that, you know, Alex Wilson has one and he has such and such to say about it and it works well, and hear resources on reviews of the product. Similarly with electric vehicles, we have sent out a query and learned about, you know, a couple of dozen people in Dummerston that have electric vehicles. And you know, when residents are considering getting an electric vehicle, knowing that your neighbor has one and that it actually works in the winter when it's cold and we think of batteries losing power, you know, that can make a difference. So you know, that's an example of the kind of information that we might put together to make energy savings easier for residents of the town. But it's a pretty general capacity building grant that could be used for a lot of purposes.
Does the grant come with a specific time period that has to be used?
No, I don't believe so.
Any other discussion or questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Um,
Okay,
All right, I'll make a motion that we recess the meeting and convene as the Liquor Control Board.
Second?
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
That's my
there
favorite part.
is Next Stage Arts at the Scott Farm on the 13th, 3 p.m. to 7:30, and then a special event permit for the Scott Farm on September 17th, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Can we combine those, or do we
Yeah.
need to vote on them separately?
We can make a motion, which I'll do if you want, for Next Stage for 8/13, and then another one for the special events permit for 9/17.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, if one of us didn't want to do something, we could have changed it down to one, but
So I'll make a motion that we adjourn as the Liquor Control Board and reconvene the meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there any other business? Let's see here. There's some warrants and
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second?
Great.